Welcome to the jam, and welcome to the jam. Apricot jam, strawberry jam.
Come on and slam, and welcome.
The 90s. What a strange time that was. From the clothes we wore, to the music we listened to, even down to putting a camera in front of a complete stranger and they're totally okay with it, as opposed to now.
Go ahead, put me on social media. You're a little pop. Seriously? Seriously, I called the cops. I can't wait.
Okay. It was a simpler time back then. I mean, I wouldn't know that much about the 90s anyway. I've only spent 6 years in that decade.
But what that decade brought us in the movie industry were genuine classics that we can all hold dear into our hearts. Movies like The Iron Giant, or Terminator 2, or The Big Lebowski, and countless other films that I can't really think of the top of my head, but I'll show you on the screen here. But the main significant film that has touched everyone's hearts, and continues to do so from this day till thereon, is Space Jam? Okay. I'm just gonna be honest, Space Jam isn't a good movie in my eyes, but I do understand that it resonates with my generation. And for those people, it's considered to be a staple in their childhood. It was for me at one point, but then I became an adult, and then I questioned what the hell was I watching. I'm not saying people can't enjoy this film or anything. Even if it is completely strange and nonsensical, it can still be enjoyable for what it is. The sequel, however, is one of the worst things to ever exist in human life. Ironically, people like this movie as well. Although, one thing I can say with the first movie, at least it has somewhat of a story. It's a movie. It feels like one. I mean, it's got the basics. It's got story, it's got characters, it's got a plot, all the fundamentals. I mean, it's even got the famous Michael Jordan playing on manga? What? I don't even understand why they call it Space Jam. Like, they're not even in space. They have to deal with aliens in the first movie, so that's why they call it Space Jam, but here they're not dealing with aliens. They're just dealing with the computer algorithm thing. So they're not in space, they're in a computer. So wouldn't you call it either Cyberspace Jam, or Mozilla Firefox Jam, or Google Chrome Jam, Internet Explorer Jam, or my personal favorite, HP 15.6-inch touchscreen laptop, Intel Core i7, 16GB memory, 512GB SSD, natural silver Jam. So for everyone else, this movie is a good time, but for me, this is my life now. So let's get into it. So the movie starts as we follow LeBron James as a 12-year-old playing basketball. He meets up with his best friend Malik, who gives him the original Game Boy.
My dad got me the color one. Oh, and if it freezes up on you, just smack it really hard. Works every time.
Wow, you gave away your own Game Boy because you got a Game Boy Color? Awesome. Now I can play this for twice the amount of battery life it requires. Thanks, Malik. So after a really bad bit of foreshadowing mixed with one of many product plugs in this movie, LeBron gets interrupted by his coach telling him to get back into the game, which he does, only to miss the shot with seconds left. After the game, coach then gives him a pep talk, inspiring him to take basketball more seriously, which inspires him to throw away the Game Boy, even though he could have just donated to Toys for Tots. So as the credits roll, which go on for freaking ever, like 3 minutes of this, we notice that there are two producer credits that I actually find familiar. Ivan Reitman and Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler is the same director that also did Black Panther and Creed, which are two very good movies I do like, and why he was subjecting himself to this, I feel bad. And then there's Ivan Reitman, who kind of makes me feel a little dead inside to know that he was a part of this, and even more dead knowing that he's actually dead. Rest in peace, Ivan. And then I also find out that there's 6 writer credits and 4 story credits. How many people does it take to write one script, for God's sake? So after the credits, we cut to LeBron's mansion. And I know it's LeBron's mansion because LeBron is the main character of the story. Yet for some reason, they have to have the text thing at the bottom half of the screen for some reason. Like, they do this with every movie, but it's really unnecessary here. We know whose house it is. We know who we're supposed to focus on. Why do they need the credits here? I don't know. Then we see his 2 sons, Dom and Bronny, playing basketball together. LeBron James comes in like, hey, what you doing out here? Playing around these games. That shot was terrible. What are you playing around here? This is about work. Everything between his 4 lines is work. You see that gardener over there? You see what he's doing? He's doing work. You gotta apply for a job? Now you gotta work to apply for that job. And then when you apply for that job, it's all work. I say this because that's 90% of his dialogue. I mean, it changes at the very end when honestly no one really cares. But that's pretty much his whole thing with his dialogue. Could he have just written a stronger script or written stronger lines for this guy, give him more to work with? I mean, there's only like 6 of you. Okay, if there was any saving grace with this movie, it would have to be LeBron's hilariously bad acting. I mean, he's not really acting per se. I mean, he has this mad look on his face whenever he looks normal. Then, whenever he reacts to something, he always makes this face. Like, what is that face? It cracks me up every time. The animation version of him is a better actor. LeBron's youngest son, Dom, doesn't show much interest in basketball, despite LeBron pushing him into it, showing concern to the mother. She's like, what did I tell you about telling my son about work? He made a video game. I mean, he's 12 years old. He made his own game. My goddamn. And then we somehow transition from that to the Warner Brothers tower going into, like, I don't know, the basement floor into cyberspace with the Warner Brothers logo on it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But we just went from talking about family values to cyberspace with Don Cheadle looking through his Tinder on speed because he's going so fast, and LeBron James keeps popping up. What? So if you thought Ivan Reitman and Ryan Coogler being a part of this project is depressing enough, it dragged Don Cheadle into this. This is a sad day. I feel like the world has already ended. Cheadle here plays an algorithm in this movie named Algorithm, and lives in what's called, Jesus Christ, the Warner Brothers serververse. 2 of the stupidest names in this one movie shown in the exact same scene. You think this movie couldn't get any stupider, but it finds a way. Okay, joking aside, Don Cheadle is probably the second saving grace in this movie. His acting in this movie is completely over the top and ridiculous, but I honestly love it in this movie. You can tell that he knows this movie is complete BS, so it's like he's just playing it off like it's just another thing in his resume. It's like, I'll be fine. I don't care. I'm in the MCU, for God's sake. And I'm also a good actor, so who cares? So Algie comes up with the idea of combining his tech with LeBron James's fame and sends it out to the Warner Brothers studio as an email. Kind of sad knowing that Warner Brothers has to rely on an algorithm to come up with their ideas. This better not be the future. Meanwhile, at the James' home, Dom continues to work on his video game, and then his dad barges in. They end up playing the game together, which is like a knockoff, lesser-known, really watered-down version of NBA Street. And that game came out in 2002. This is supposedly 2021 graphics. And again, it looks better than 2K. So as they play the new game together, they trigger a glitch inside the system that causes his character to be deleted. Of course, Dom gets upset, but when LeBron tries to cheer him up by bringing him to a Warner Brothers pitch meeting, because, that's definitely going to fix the issue. So LeBron and his son go, we don't need the text here. We know where we are. There's literally movie posters everywhere. We don't need the text here to know that we're in Warner Brothers Studios. So LeBron and his son go to Warner Brothers Studios to listen in on a new pitch idea involving him, which Algie presents to LeBron the Warner 3000, which scans him into the movies and pretty much have him be presented in many different movies or TV shows like Batman, Game of Thrones, which isn't even a movie, that's a TV show, and Harry Potter. It's about the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. Even LeBron agrees with that, saying this is top 5 worst ideas he's ever heard. For me, it's top 1.
Listen, guys, I'm a ball player. And athletes acting, that never goes well.
Then why the hell are you in this movie? So LeBron goes on about how bad the idea is, which I totally agree with. But Algie ain't having it. Although it does seem to win somebody over, specifically Dom. To be fair, he's a kid, so this would easily win any kid over. That's how people got dragged into watching this shit anyway. So Dom goes on about talking about his video game and even wants to go to video game camp. But his dad doesn't approve, saying that he has to go to basketball camp instead of video game camp, but Dom doesn't want to. Even though LeBron keeps forcing him to do it, but Dom says it's not what I want. Something tells me that LeBron isn't a good listener. Not LeBron in general, I don't know the guy. I mean in this movie, specifically. The wife told him that he needed to spend time with his son without involving basketball and just spending time with him. They even had a scene where they were playing his game together, and yet he's still on him about playing basketball. Alright, I feel like I'm gonna roast LeBron a lot in this movie, so I'm not gonna call him LeBron anymore, because that would be too respectful to the actual LeBron. So from now on, I'm gonna call him Labron. Jamis. In this movie, not in real life, but in this movie, for the rest of the review. Again, no disrespect to LeBron, I promise. Algie becomes pretty pissed after being rejected, even though he should be pissed off with himself for coming up with that stupid-ass idea, and wants to get revenge. So Dom storms off into the elevator while Labron follows, leading them into Algie's trap.
Oh, hold up. Wrong floor.
You didn't figure that before you hit the basement? I mean, look how far down you are. Dom finds the inner workings of the Warner 3000 and greeted with the world's creepiest entrance.
Welcome, Dominic James.
But he just goes in like, yeah, this is fine. Dom! So Labron and Dom get sucked into the cyberspace thing and meet Algie in person. There's that face again.
Serious?
Who goes there? Who dares disturb the great and powerful Algie?
This is one of many problems with the movie. The comedy isn't funny. I mean, it's not even really comedy, it's just referencing things that already exist. Not just movies, but also memes as well.
Anything's possible!
Later in the film, and it's really annoying. Plus, I'm not gonna go into depth with those either. I'm just gonna tally them off in the same way I do with the crappy sentimental moments that happen in this movie. Starting with this one. Also that face is creeping me out. Get it away!
And who are you, man?
I am King Algie Rhythm. Is the Warner Brothers Serververse. Just make you feel all insignificant, don't it?
No, it actually makes me feel dumber. Maybe it has something to do with the name, I don't know. So Labron's son disappears and can only be brought back if he wins at a game of basketball against Algie. Because of course, he had to work in basketball somehow. As they did in the last one, I mean, we might as well do it here. So Labron gets told by Algie that he has to get a team together so he can participate in the game of his life. But not before getting sent through the entire serververse, where we're treated with more of LeBron's bad acting. So Labron falls into Toon World where all the Looney Tunes live. And he even becomes a cartoon himself. Which begs the question, why didn't he change into cartoon form as he was following through the orange iris thing? Would that be too much effort for the animators? So Labron looks around Toon World to find it's completely abandoned, until he runs into Bugs Bunny, who for some reason he can't seem to recognize. Apparently traveling by digging underground wasn't a dead giveaway.
Rabbit season.
All right, kid. Now say, I'm hunting rabbits. They try to chase me.
Go back. Oh, I should have seen that coming.
Doesn't surprise me that you didn't. So Labron and Bugs go through a series of cartoon antics and slapstick, which adds nothing to the story, or really anything for that matter. It's just wasting time. But at least we get to see LeBron's bad acting. Until Bugs reveals why Toon World was abandoned. He tells them that they were convinced by Algie that there was more to see in the serververse, and decided to leave Toon World behind along with Bugs. So Labron explains that he has to put together a basketball team and he needs Bugs' help to do so. So Bugs sends a signal for Marvin the Martian to land on so that they can steal his ship, and then they fly out into the serververse. God, it's such a stupid name. Meanwhile, oh, Jesus, that transition was horrible. It's about as bad as one of the transitions from The Last of Us. So anyway, Algie hangs out with Dom while Dom tries to figure out where his dad is.
Right? I mean, he left Cleveland, he left Miami, he left Cleveland again. Look out, Lakers, huh?
Are the writers intentionally roasting LeBron right now?
Well, someone brilliant, visionary, incredibly good looking.
Algie talks about how impressed he is with Dom's video game and wants to help him complete it. But then he has second thoughts.
Thinking of your dad again. He's always...
You can't be great without putting in work.
Don't ever do that again. Please.
I know a lot about you, Dom. Any device with a camera, I can see you. It's got a mic, I can hear you.
How is this kid not creeped out by this man? He has been giving red flags left and right, and he's just not really seeing them or just chooses to ignore them. If I were this kid, I'd put a restraining order on this guy.